Welcome friends. In this session, we are going to discuss theories of punishment. Punishment. Crime is an antisocial act. Crime is violation of the laws of society. McKinsey says that a wrong against social law is a wrong against humanity, and it cannot be forgiven until the offended majesty of the law is appeased. Society or state punishes the wrongdoer because the latter has degraded the majesty of the social law by its violation. If the offended majesty of the social law is not vindicated by administering proper punishment to the wrongdoer, the social unity and harmony will disintegrate and the moral ideal will degrade. Law gives a guarantee to the members of society that the offenders will not go free. They will feel great indignation if the guilty are not punished. If the majesty of the law becomes inured, the social unity also disintegrates correspondingly. Punishment is necessary for the upholding of the ideal of humanity and morality. Punishment is inflicted on the wrongdoer because he has earned it by violating the moral law. The wrongdoer is shown the nature of right through punishment. The wrongdoer has not only tried to disturb the social peace and harmony through his criminal acts, but has also degraded him. Punishment shrinks the personality of the wrongdoer. A criminal feels that his personality is degraded when he is punished for his wrong deeds. An individual is criticized for his inappropriate actions and penalized for his offenses. Punishment makes a wrongdoer conscious of the social ideal as also of the disagreement of his action with this ideal. Punishment is inflicted on a wrongdoer because justice demands it. Justice demands that there should be appropriate distribution of reward and punishment in proportion to the merit and demerit of actions. Punishment is inflicted on a criminal because he has earned it by violating the moral law. Punishment is a form of negative reward. Punishment plays its part in maintaining the general integrity of a society. Theories of punishment. No society can tolerate antisocial acts. Antisocial acts are subversive of the economic, social and moral laws of society. Those who act against these laws are punished in various ways by the society or the state. Every punishment inflicts upon the criminal physical or mental pain. Normally, we do not justify the infliction of pain on an individual. A question may naturally arise as to why we make an exception to this rule in the case of administering punishment to the wrongdoer. This question has given rise to different theories as to the aim of punishment, of which three are important. These theories of punishment may be discussed briefly as follows. Preventive or deterrent theory. According to the advocates of the preventive theory, the primary end of punishment is to prevent the recurrence of crime. The damage done to the society by the criminal is irreparable, but other men may be tempted to indulge in antisocial acts if no example of what happens in the criminal when he does wrong to the society is placed before them. A criminal ought to be punished in order to prevent others from committing similar crimes. It should be an exemplary punishment. Thus, severe punishment for slight offense may be necessary. The main theme of this theory has best been expressed through the maxim, "You are not punished for stealing sheep, but in order that sheep may not be stolen." According to the preventive theory, the criminal is punished as a means to an end, which is the prevention of crimes. But man should always be treated as an end and never as a means. It has been found that even capital punishment could not prevent the recurrence of similar crimes. Punishment should be such as the criminal may have the understanding that his actions are detrimental to the society, that he may be conscious of the moral ideal. Though prevention of crimes is one of the duties of society, yet it should not be unnecessarily harsh to the criminal, where a softer punishment may fruitful. Reformative or educative theory. According to the advocates of the reformative theory, the aim of punishment is to reform the criminal himself. The offender was, prior to the commission of offence, a member of the society. It should be the duty of the society to rehabilitate the offender. The offender should be punished for his own good. Punishment aims at reforming the offender of his antisocial tendencies so that he may regain his position in society. Punishment should educate the offender in the consciousness of the moral ideal and moral duties. It should never be tinged with retribution. The reformative theory has been supported by the psychologist and also by sociologists. Psychoanalysts maintain that crimes are manifestations of repressed desires of a person. A criminal therefore should not be punished, he should rather be treated with care by psychologists and psychoanalysts. According to the advocates of criminal anthropology, crime is a pathological phenomenon. It is due either to hereditary or acquired physiological defect of personality. Criminals should therefore be sent to the health homes, psychological clinics or reformatories rather than to prison houses. Advocates of criminal sociology maintain that crimes are due to social and economic inequalities. A criminal commits crime when he is oppressed by economic hardship. A criminal therefore should not be punished. The socio-economic stratification should be removed and it will be seen that crimes have also disappeared. Reformation of the criminal is desirable from the standpoint of social welfare, but the determination of all the factors of an individual's personality and devising the proper treatment for his welfare is more often extremely difficult than not. It is only when the offender is made to see that the punishment of his crime is the natural outcome of his act that he is likely to be repentant and to reform his conduct. Reformation is not likely to be effected by punishment unless it is recognized that the punishment is the vindication of the moral law. The one important aspect of this theory is its emphasis on the role of a man as an end and not as a means. Moreover, it may be said that the communist states which claim to have established a classless society where there are no social inequalities have not yet been able to eradicate crimes from their societies. Retributive theory. According to the advocates of the retributive theory, the offender against society must be punished. The offender has done a wrong against society. The wrong which he has done to others and to society should recoil upon him. It is through punishment that he should be made conscious of the wrong he has done. Punishment is the compliment paid to the criminal. The offender has done a wrong against society. A wrong against society is a wrong against humanity. It offends the majesty of the law. The wrong therefore should be punished in order that the offended majesty of the law is appeased. If the offended majesty of the law is not appeased by punishing the criminal, it will have a very harmful effect on the social harmony and unity. Justice demands that the wrongdoer should be punished. The criminal has earned punishment by violating the moral law. The members of society feel a great moral indignation if the guilty remains unpunished. Punishment therefore is an act of justice. Aristotle, Kant, Hegel, Bradley and others support this view of punishment. Punishment aims not so much at reforming the offender or at prevention of crimes as at upholding the glory and majesty of moral law. But as to the nature of punishment, the advocates of the retributive theory are divided in their opinion. According to one group of retributivists, punishment should be of the nature of tit for tat, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth and nail for a nail. Severe crimes should have severe punishments. Nature of punishment is to be determined by the nature of the offence. This is known as rigoristic retributive theory. According to another group of retributivists, the punishing authority should take into consideration the motives and intentions of a wrongdoer while punishing the latter. Punishment should not be inflicted mechanically. All possible factors which are responsible for the perpetration of a crime by an individual must be taken into consideration before punishing him. We should not only consider the nature of the crime, but also the mental disposition of the offender, as also the circumstances under which the crime was committed while inflicting punishment on him. Otherwise, punishment will be a mere oppression. Our view of punishment should be justice tempered with mercy. This is known as modified retributive theory. The modern civilization does not appear to favor the view that punishment should be purely retributive. The rigoristic retributive theory is therefore unacceptable. Man is a finite individual with many limitations. Any offence committed by the offender should be considered sympathetically before administering any punishment to him. The modified form of retributive theory appears to be satisfactory if by retribution we mean vindication of the moral law. This theory admits that the aim of punishment is partly deterrent, partly utilitarian and partly reformative. Mackenzie rightly says that neither reformation nor prevention is likely to be effected by punishment unless it is recognized that the punishment is the vindication of the law. The end of punishment is partly protective or preventive and partly reformative, but punishment has at the same time a retributive character. Under the more enlightened conditions of modern society, the ends of punishment is the protection of society, the prevention of crimes and the reformation of the criminals. The whole object of punishment is to improve the condition of society. Capital punishment. Capital punishment means death sentence. The reformative theory of punishment aims at the reformation of the criminal. It is therefore apparent that capital punishment is not justified according to this theory. If the criminal is given death sentence, the question of his reformation becomes meaningless. Prevention theory aims at preventing the recurrence of crimes. The criminal is not punished so much for his own good as for preventing others from committing similar crimes. This theory advocates exemplary punishment. Hence, capital punishment is justifiable on this theory. The severity of death sentence will be a powerful check on the criminal tendencies of others. The retributive theory advocates punishment to the wrongdoer after considering his motive, intention and the circumstances under which the wrong was done. But if the crime is of severe nature and if there are no extenuating circumstances, the criminal being hardened and incurable, capital punishment may be awarded. The humanists are opposed to capital punishment. They maintain that if punishment merely aims at vindication of the moral law, it smacks of revenge. A wrongdoer becomes temporarily insane while committing a crime. No murder is committed in cold blood. When society inflicts death sentence on a criminal, it does so in cold blood. Therefore, society or its leaders should also be punished with death. The humanists maintain that taking one's life to set an example to others is an act of barbaric cruelty. Homicidal crimes have not disappeared from the countries where capital punishment is in vogue. Capital punishment has no deterrent effect. According to the humanist, healthy and strong public opinion is the real deterrent to crime. Treating the offender as a means to an end is a crime. Treating the offender as a means to an end is a crime against humanity. According to criminal sociology, the taproot of crimes is social and economic inequalities. If the inequalities are removed, crimes will also disappear. According to criminal anthropology, mental deficiency is the cause of crimes. The criminals should therefore be sent to the psychoanalytic clinics rather than to the gallows. The British Royal Commission that undertook to investigate into the efficacy of capital punishment in Great Britain in 1949 could not definitely conclude that capital punishment prevented recurrence of crimes. The Commission was of the opinion that it was impossible to retrieve the verdict once the offender was put to death, and there were a few instances where innocent person was sentenced to death. The Commission therefore left it to the government to consider whether the life sentence would be a better substitute for death sentence. Recently, however, capital punishment has been abolished in Great Britain by an enactment of law. In our country also, some jurists and humanists are mobilizing public opinion in favor of abolition of the institution of capital punishment. The arguments against death sentence are true to a great extent, but abolition of capital punishment cannot also be advocated. It is true that crimes have not disappeared from the countries where capital punishment is in force. The incidence of heinous crimes may rise sharply if capital punishment is abolished in those countries. All cases of crimes cannot be due to social or economic inequalities or to some mental defects. There are what may be termed born criminal. Nothing can reform these born criminals. If a criminal who has committed a heinous crime goes off with a lighter punishment, it will give an indulgence to the criminal tendencies that may be in other persons. If the crime is of severe nature and if there are not extenuating circumstances in favor of the criminal, death sentence may be justified in that case. Where the criminal commits murder in cold blood, he will have to accept death sentence as his reward. Now, let us summarize. Crime is an antisocial act. Crime is violation of the laws of society. Law gives a guarantee to the members of a society that the offenders will not go free. Punishment is necessary for the upholding of the ideal of humanity and morality. Punishment is inflicted on the wrongdoer because he has earned it by violating the moral law. The wrongdoer is shown the nature of right through punishment. Those who act against these laws are punished in various ways by the society or the state. Every punishment inflicts upon the criminal physical or mental pain. According to the advocates of the preventive theory, the primary end of punishment is to prevent the recurrence of crime. A criminal ought to be punished in order to prevent others from committing similar crimes. According to the advocates of the retributive theory, the offender against society must be punished. The offender has done a wrong against society. The wrong which he has done to others and to society should recoil upon him. The reformative theory of punishment aims at the reformation of the criminal. Capital punishment means death sentence. The reformative theory of punishment aims at the reformation of the criminal. It is therefore apparent that capital punishment is not justified according to this theory. There are a few assignments for you to work out. 1. Bring out the relation between crime and punishment. 2. Discuss different kinds of theories of punishment. 3. Is capital punishment justified? Explain. 4. Critically evaluate retributive theory of punishment. I can suggest you some books for reference. 1. Mackenzie, Manual of Ethics, Book 3, Chapter 2. 2. Tihis, Harold and Keaton Mortis, Ethics for Today, 5th edition, D. Van Nostrand Company, New York, 1973. 3. Jadunath Sinha, A Manual of Ethics, Sinha Publishing House Private Limited, Calcutta, 1976. 4. Professor Sanyal J. and Professor Malik K. N. Ethics, Sri Bhumi Publishing Company, Calcutta, 1965. 5. Moorhead, Elements of Ethics. Thank you for watching this program. Let us meet in another session with another topic. Bye.